RFK has decided that he is going to be very transparent about visiting a certain person, not an island, but just a person and on their plane. He admits to being on their plane.
A plane that's called the Lolita Express.
Which is pretty damning, if you ask me. Now, we are going to play the clip. You be the judge, and then we will comment. Here we go.
You weren't ever on Jeffrey Epstein's jet, were you?
I was on Jeffrey Epstein's jet 2 times. I was on it in 1993, and I was on it and I went to Florida with my wife and 2 children to visit my mom over Easter. My wife had some kind of relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell, and this was in '93, so it was 30 years ago. It was before anybody knew about Jeffrey Epstein's, his nefarious issues. And I agree with you that all of this information should be released. And we should get real answers on what happened to Jeffrey Epstein and any of the high-level political people that he was involved with. All of that should be open to the public. It should be absolutely transparent. And, I don't see why any of those records would have any redactions in them. Why would we be hiding that from the American public?
That's a good point. Why would you hide it? If he's willing
it's
to
on the manifest, I'm sure. Just like how we know Bill Clinton was on the plane, we could find out he's
yes,
on the
but
plane.
as the case, since that person unfortunately is not with us anymore because he decided that
to take his own life.
He took his own life. All of a sudden, all the people that apparently have been affiliated with going to Sands Island or was affiliated with anything that the 2 of them were up to in Palm Beach for all these years, for whatever reason, nothing's ever come of it.
I agree, Donald James. I think he is telling the truth regarding this. I have no reason to think otherwise. And I also have issues with him for other reasons. Like that's sure. Why this story bothered me, because I feel, to me, it's irrelevant.
No, I don't think it's irrelevant. And I'll share with you why I don't think it's irrelevant, because I think that this is a story that they're going to try to, I think again, I don't know what the GOP is going to do. Even though
the Democrats are not going to bring this up.
I don't think that they will, because I think that there's just there's too many problems with people that are affiliated with it, particularly
Hillary Clinton.
Bill Clinton.
Well, right, but she's the one who seems to be most still in have her hands in this shit.
Prove me wrong, guys. I don't believe Trump has ever been to the island. I know he's obviously
I don't think he's been.
I know that he's affiliated with the person who will not be named.
He who shall not be. But I mean, I don't. Again, my point is that RFK was on the plane.
Yeah, and Colinello, I think it's Maxwell, not Epstein.
I could have been, but no. And I think Epstein was essentially working for her.
Yes, I agree with that as well.
I think, look,
because of her father.
Yeah, I mean, she was the one who was highly connected. She was the one who obviously knew all the people. Just the fact that RFK said that right there, his wife had a relationship with her. It's like, that's the person who was on the inside. He was just a very depraved and sick human being who also had a lot of money and was able to sort of live this fun life. And he was able to have like whatever fetishes and whatever his stuff. And he was able to do that basically with complete, abandon because of all the other big name people who they had the goods on. And that's really all it is. But I think she's much more of the problem. And again, that was a good point that was made the other day about that's why we haven't been watching, nonstop footage of people that were involved on his island, because she is still alive. She hasn't pulled the kill switch.
Well, that's another good point. And that also speaks to why I do think that this is pretty significant for 2 reasons. The first one, of course, is that I do think listen, it doesn't necessarily have to come from Trump or from Biden. It just has to come from one major super PAC who doesn't want any part of RFK messing with the electoral outcome.
But I don't see there's no there, though.
I understand, but remember, they can create things out of thin air.
Okay, so now you have him.
So the fact that he's admitted it, they could say, oh, he's actually been on the plane. Well, he has admitted he's been on the plane. And if he's ever been to the island, that will come out. Like, that will be disclosed if that is in fact the case.
I don't think he would lie.
So The fact
I don't think he's been to the island.
Well, he said he hasn't, and
I don't think so.
you would obviously have to have ironclad proof that he has. I could tell you that Bill Clinton has.
Yeah, but but RFK doesn't at all give me the pederast or lechy creepy vibes. So he just doesn't.
So the issue here is, is RFK actually going to push to get those names released, or even a question of getting the names released, having people have to come to terms with what they've done? And if there's going to be any kind of justice that will be done on behalf of those that have suffered. I mean, again, we're not going to go down the rabbit hole because we're not in that life. No one actually knows what goes on at these private parties in Palm Beach and San Francisco and Catalina Island. You're not in that world. You don't know what actually goes on.
You don't know what I know. You don't know where I've been. So
you may know. Jensen Mossad herself. That's why she's so adamant about taking them down. Because she knows how evil and depraved they really are.
It's a problem. And what Larry said is true. Like, their terroristic acts from the inception of the state of Israel have no rivals up to this point. Like, the stuff that they did, if anybody knows a thing or two about terrorism, it's the IDF.
That's very true. And I also think that it is even more and more obvious that, especially over the last, anything post-World War II, that what you have with the Mossad is basically political blackmail. And this is what ends up happening. Now, do I think that there are ready and willing participants of these heinous acts? Absolutely. But I also think there are people who end up in entrapment. They didn't want to be involved in this.
So Kana says you thought the pedo stuff happened on the plane. You know what? I'm sure it did too. Like, I don't see why it wouldn't have also. And I know that they did use the plane for trafficking purposes, and I do believe that. But that doesn't mean that every single trip that plane took with every single passenger on it, like i.e. RFK and his wife and their children, that it happened on that flight. So I do believe that a lot of things probably did happen on that plane. But a lot of other things have happened on that plane, as in fact was an airplane. Yeah, the only thing that you could really say in regards to whether or not RFK is fudging the truth in any capacity is check it.
Well, his wife is deceased and his two children were very young. So again,
no, but first of all, I'm sure his name's on the manifest. It doesn't really matter, and that's the thing. It's like if you're digging to find something where there's nothing, let's focus on stuff that we do know. This is why that story bothers me, because there's no there until there's there. So
what I will tell you is that regarding RFK and why I still think that he actually is a threat. I got invited to one of his fundraisers tonight. I will not go. First of all, I'm not donating to RFK, and I'm not especially going to spend the type of money, which apparently is $1,000 a head, in order to attend. When you're fundraising at that type of level, when you're bringing in that type of money on a regular basis, that's a serious campaign. It just is. And so I think ultimately people are going to be looking in other directions for political affiliation away from the likes of Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And I'm
way more scared for his safety than his reputation.
I would agree with that as well.
I mean, like
I would feel the same way about Dr. West if he was in anywhere of an attainable position. That
if he had those numbers,
like RFK does. RFK has serious numbers. He's in the 20s now, and we are 11 months away from the election, and there is a lot that can happen. Remember, you got to get the
two other people are old and decrepit and dealing with a lot of stress right now,
and then some. And then some.
Yeah.
And RFK has proven to be a very able-bodied person. He's very sharp on a lot of issues. He is a complete failure when it comes to the issue of Israel. And I think that will be his, demise in many ways, because the lane is open. We've said it. If you're going to if there ever was a time to stand with the Palestinian people and make it a political football to your advantage, it's right now. It's right there for you to take. You were right on Ukraine and Russia. You are dead wrong on this issue. And whatever you think you're going to garner. Now, granted, like Yad
he likes Rabbi Shmuley's tokens.
He likes it quite a bit. But as Yad Grove has pointed out, and this is where a lot of people stand, RFK is terrible in Israel, but he's everything this country needs in every other way. I don't agree. However, this is a sentiment that a lot of people are going to share. They're going to well, listen, I disagree with him vehemently on Israel. But you know what? If it's a question of him, Biden, or Trump, I'm taking RFK.
If those are the three people that you were looking at, then I agree. I think that's it. But there are other people right now. That's the thing. This is a very unusual situation. Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.